There's a moment in every silent battle when you finally realize you are not the broken one. You are not the weak one. You are simply under the spell of someone who fed on your softness, who mistook your love for weakness, and who believed control was the same thing as intimacy. And when that moment comes, when the chains snap and the fog lifts, the person who once held power over you feels it more sharply than anyone else. That's when the unraveling begins. Not yours, theirs. The truth is, letting go of a narcissist is not like walking away from any ordinary relationship. It's more like escaping a house of mirrors where every reflection showed you twisted, diminished, doubting yourself. And for so long, you stayed. You stayed because they convinced you that leaving would mean losing the only version of love you thought you could have. You stayed because your silence brought you temporary peace. You stayed because you confused the chaos with passion. But something inside you shifted, quietly at first, then louder. The voice that once begged for scraps of affection began to whisper, "Enough." And that whisper grew until it became undeniable, until you stopped defending them, until you stopped explaining away their cruelty, until you stopped blaming yourself for their storms. That's when everything began to change. That's when they lost control. And here's what so few people talk about. Narcissists know when their grip on you is slipping. They feel it in the way you pause before responding to their insults. They see it when your eyes don't water at their coldness anymore. They hear it in the silence when you no longer rush to reassure them after they sulk. Control is their lifeline. And when they feel it breaking, their fear begins to show through their anger, through their manipulation, through every desperate attempt to pull you back. If you've ever wondered what it looks like when they realize they no longer have power over you, what signs reveal their panic, then stay here. Because we are going to walk through those painful truths together. And I promise, as you listen, you may feel chills. You may feel like I'm describing your very life, as if I've seen your hidden wounds. That's because these patterns are universal. They cut deep, but they also prove your strength. So take a breath with me. Let yourself be here. Let yourself listen. Not as the wounded version of you who tolerated too much, but as the version who is finally ready to see clearly. Because by the end of this, you will not just understand the 7 painful signs that show a narcissist has lost control. You'll feel a shift. You'll feel validated. You'll feel less alone. And if any part of you has ever questioned your worth, doubted your sanity, or wondered if walking away made you cruel, then let this be your reminder. Reclaiming yourself is not cruelty. It is survival. It is courage. It is love, the kind you finally give back to yourself. Stay with me. There's power in this story. Power you may not have felt in a long time. And before we dive deeper, let me ask you, if you find even a fragment of your truth here, if you feel seen, held, understood, make sure you subscribe. Not for me, but for you. For the version of you who deserves reminders like this. For the nights when the memories ache, and you need a voice that tells you you're not crazy, you're not too much, you're not unlovable. Click subscribe, click like, because that's how we keep building a space where healing has a voice. The first sign is subtle, but once you recognize it, you can never unsee it. It is the silence after your resistance. For so long, when they pushed, you yielded. When they demanded, you gave. When they punished you with icy distance, you chased. But the first time you don't, when you sit in your own stillness and refuse to run after them, the silence becomes unbearable for them. They feel it like a mirror shattering. They are no longer the center of your reaction, and that loss of attention cuts them deeper than any words you could ever say. You'll notice them pacing emotionally, reaching for their usual tools: anger, guilt, pity, but none of it works the way it once did. And that unsettles them in ways you can almost taste in the air. This moment often arrives when you begin to reclaim your peace. Maybe you start journaling instead of arguing. Maybe you go for a walk instead of staying to fight. Maybe you simply don't reply right away because your energy is no longer theirs to drain. They know you're slipping, and they will fight to pull you back, but the grip is already loosening. The second sign is rage disguised as desperation. When their calm manipulation fails, the mask cracks, and suddenly you see the fury that always simmered beneath their control. It comes in bursts, raised voices, cruel words, accusations designed to pierce you where it hurts most. But if you look closer, beneath the rage is panic. They are not angry because you betrayed them. They are angry because they can no longer predict you. You are no longer orbiting around their moods. Your freedom exposes their emptiness, and it terrifies them. You can almost see it in their eyes, the wildness of someone who fears their game is ending. The third sign cuts in a different direction. It's the sudden sweetness, the unexpected tenderness that feels out of place after months, maybe years, of indifference. They remember what hooked you in the first place, the charm, the flattery, the false promises of safety and love. And so, they reach for it again. They tell you they've changed. They tell you they see now what they did wrong. They might even cry, confess, beg. And part of you, the part still longing for the version of them you once believed in, may ache to believe it. But deep down, you'll feel the hollowness of it, because it isn't love that drives this sudden tenderness. It's fear of losing control. It's the oldest trick in their book, and it only works if you forget how many times they've played it before. And here is the fourth sign: their attempt to rewrite the story. They cannot bear the idea of you leaving with clarity, with dignity, with your head held high. So, they twist the narrative. Suddenly, you are the cold one, the selfish one, the ungrateful one. They'll speak to friends, to family, to anyone who will listen, painting themselves as the victim of your cruelty. They do this because if they can't control you directly, they will try to control the way others see you. But this too reveals their panic. It shows they are no longer confident in their private grip on you. They must recruit others to validate their version of the story. Yet the more you see through their lies, the less their words sting. You begin to feel pity instead of pain. And that shift, that's freedom. The fifth sign is perhaps the most haunting. It's when they try to invade your peace even after you've chosen distance. You block their number, and suddenly they appear through a new one. You walk away, and they linger at the edges of your life, searching for cracks in your boundaries. They may leave messages full of longing, or cruel reminders meant to unsettle you. They may hover in digital spaces, watching from a distance. It feels invasive, exhausting, but what it really shows is their desperation to claw back into your world. They can't stand that you've closed the door, because it means you are living without them. And that is the one truth they cannot bear: that your life continues, that your laughter returns, that your spirit breathes again. The sixth sign is self-destruction disguised as drama. When nothing else works, they might spiral into reckless behavior. They may post cryptic things online, hinting at collapse. They may threaten to hurt themselves, or flaunt chaos in ways meant to lure your attention back. It's a performance, but one that reveals just how fragile their sense of control truly is. It puts you in the impossible position of feeling guilty for their choices, even when you know they are manipulating your compassion. And yet, the more you refuse to be pulled into the drama, the clearer it becomes. They cannot control you without using destruction as a tool. And finally, the seventh sign, the one that cuts the deepest but also liberates the most. It's when they vanish, not because they've changed, not because they've grown, but because losing control over you makes them seek a new source of supply. They may disappear suddenly, coldly, leaving you with silence where once there was chaos. At first, this absence might feel like rejection, abandonment, another wound. But over time, you realize it is a gift. Their disappearance is not proof that you were unworthy. It is proof that you finally became untouchable. And that freedom is something they could never stand to witness. Take another breath here. Notice the heaviness in your chest and the way it lightens as truth settles in. If you recognized yourself in these signs, if you felt chills of recognition, know this: you are not broken for being here. You are powerful for seeing clearly now. You are not unlovable. You are not too much. You are simply too strong to remain controlled. And the fact that they feel the loss so sharply, that's the final proof of your liberation. There's something that happens after the storm, after the unraveling, that few people talk about. It's not just about spotting the signs that they've lost control, it's about what rises in you once those signs appear. Because yes, the silence after your resistance is deafening. Yes, their rage feels terrifying. Yes, their sudden sweetness shakes your heart. But the real story is not just about what they do when they lose control. It's about what you begin to reclaim in the space they once occupied. The first time you do not chase after them, something else happens to you. Hear yourself again. Your own thoughts, your own needs, your own truth. For so long, their voice was louder than yours. It drowned out your instincts, your desires, even your boundaries. But in the quiet, their silence becomes your clarity. And though they may try to twist the stillness into punishment, you begin to recognize it as healing. This is what terrifies them, that your stillness has nothing to do with them anymore. It is yours, and it is sacred. When the rage comes, and you no longer flinch, that's another shift. Once upon a time, their anger would have shattered you. It would have made you apologize for things that weren't your fault, beg for their forgiveness, promise to be better. But now, their fury no longer dictates your worth. You see the tantrum for what it is: fear disguised as fire, and instead of shrinking, you breathe. You stand. You remember that love never needs to scare you into submission. And the moment you see their rage not as power but as panic, you cut one of the last strings tying you to their control. Then comes the sweetness, the tears, the promises. And it hurts, doesn't it? To see glimpses of the person you once believed in. To feel the tug of nostalgia, the ache of what might have been. But this time, You don't confuse the performance for truth. You don't forget the nights you cried yourself to sleep, or the mornings you walked on eggshells just to avoid their coldness. You see the cycle, not the promise. You hear the script, not the confession. And though a part of you aches to hold on to the fantasy, another part of you, stronger now, whispers, "I know this pattern. I know this isn't love." That whisper saves you, again and again. And when they try to rewrite the story, when they call you selfish, cold, ungrateful, when they spread their version of events like poison, you feel the sting, but it doesn't destroy you. Because deep down, you already know the truth. You already know who you were in that relationship. You know how much you gave, how many pieces of yourself you sacrificed just to keep the peace. You know the nights you prayed for change, the mornings you swallowed your voice. Their lies may bruise you, but they no longer define you. And slowly, the people who matter most begin to see the truth too. You don't need to defend yourself. Your healing speaks louder than their slander. Even when they invade your peace, slipping through blocked numbers, haunting your digital spaces, showing up where they know you'll be, you realize something else. The fact that they still reach for you, even in the shadows, means they feel your absence like a wound. They are desperate because they know they've lost what they thought they owned. And as unsettling as it feels, it is also evidence of your strength. You walked away. You built boundaries. And even if they try to claw back in, you no longer open the door. That kind of courage cannot be undone. And then, the drama, the chaos, the self-destruction. You watch from a distance now, no longer pulled into the whirlpool. You see the desperate displays, the threats, the reckless spirals. You may even feel guilt tugging at your chest because you once believed it was your job to fix them, to soothe them, to carry their storms. But now you see it clearly. Their choices are not yours to save. Their chaos is not your responsibility. And the weight that once crushed you begins to fall away. Finally, their disappearance. The silence that once would have broken you now feels different. At first, yes, the absence aches. It feels sharp, like rejection. It feels cold, like abandonment. But slowly, the silence becomes spacious. You begin to notice that your laughter returns in this space. Your breath deepens, your shoulders drop. You start to remember who you were before the chaos consumed you. Their vanishing is not proof that you were unworthy. It is proof that they could not hold on to someone who finally chose herself. And here is the paradox that Carl Jung once hinted at: the place where pain meets freedom. The very signs that reveal their panic are the same signs that reveal your strength. Their loss of control is not just about them. It is the evidence that you have taken your life back, that you no longer confuse love with survival, that you no longer silence yourself to keep someone else comfortable, that you no longer mistake control for intimacy. So if your heart is heavy right now, if your chest is tight from memories rising as you listen, pause with me, breathe, put your hand on your heart if you need to. Because the truth is, this story is not just about the pain of being under their control. It is about the beauty of stepping out of it. And you, right here, right now, are proof that it's possible. There's a quiet revolution that happens when you stop answering their chaos. At first, it feels almost unnatural, like you've forgotten your lines in a play you've been performing for years. They throw out the bait and insult, a guilt trip, a tearful confession, and your body almost reacts out of habit. Almost. But then, something inside you says no, not this time. You pause. You walk away. You breathe instead of argue. And that silence, that refusal to engage, is what terrifies them most. Because control depends on reaction. Without your reaction, their power has nothing to feed on. This is where you begin to see yourself with new eyes. You start to notice how much energy you've spent bending, shrinking, apologizing for simply existing. You see the exhaustion that lived in your face, the tension in your body, the way your joy dimmed just to keep the peace. And it hurts. Oh, it hurts to realize how long you lived like that. But pain is not the whole story. Pain is the doorway to clarity. Because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You cannot go back to who you were when you thought their chaos was normal. When they rage now, when their voice rises or their words cut sharp, you feel something unexpected. Distance. Not distance in the sense of indifference you still feel. You're still human, but distance in the sense of perspective. Their fury no longer defines you. Their anger no longer measures your worth. You can hear them without taking their words inside you. And in that distance, you find peace. It's fragile at first, like a flame flickering in the wind. But with every moment you protect it, it grows stronger. And then comes their charm, their sudden sweetness. It's like the echo of the love bombing that once swept you off your feet. They say all the right things, touch all the wounds they once ignored, offer the affection you begged for. And for a moment, your heart stirs with the ache of memory. You want to believe, because believing would mean it wasn't all a lie. But then you remember. You remember the cycle. You remember the hollow apologies, the promises that faded as quickly as they were spoken. And you realize this sudden sweetness is not a gift, it's a hook meant to pull you back into the cycle. And with that clarity, you can finally let the sweetness pass without losing yourself to it. When they rewrite the story, casting you as the villain, it stings less than it once did. You may still feel the burn of unfairness, the ache of being misunderstood, but you no longer scramble to defend yourself in every room, to prove your innocence in every conversation. Because deep down, you know the truth, and the truth is this: people who truly see you, people who matter, will recognize your heart over time. They'll see the glow that returns to your eyes when you're free. They'll see the weight lift off your shoulders. And even if some believe the narcissist's lies, you no longer need their approval to know who you are. The desperate attempts to invade your peace may still shake you. The late-night texts from unknown numbers, the sudden appearances in places they never cared about before, the lingering in your digital world. Each one feels like a shadow reaching for you. But shadows cannot harm you when you walk in light. And the light is yours now. You set boundaries not because you hate them, but because you finally love yourself enough to protect your peace. That's something they will never understand, but you no longer need them to. Their self-destruction may still tug at your compassion. You may lie awake wondering if they're truly spiraling, if you're cruel for staying away, if you should step back into the fire just to save them. But then you remember. You tried saving them before, over and over, and every time, it only cost you more of yourself. You cannot set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Their choices are theirs. Their pain is theirs. Your freedom does not make you responsible for their storms. And when they finally disappear, when the silence falls heavy, you begin to realize something profound. Their absence is not rejection. It is not proof of your unworthiness. It is the final stage of their loss of control. They move on, not because you lacked value, but because you no longer allowed yourself to be used. And in that space, you rediscover something far more valuable than their presence. You rediscover you. This is the paradox. What once felt like abandonment slowly transforms into liberation. The silence that once frightened you becomes a sanctuary. The space they left behind fills with your laughter, your breath, your dreams. And maybe for the first time in years, you wake up and realize you are no longer living in reaction to someone else's moods. You are living for yourself. And though the scars remain, though healing is never a straight path, you carry something now that no one can take away. The proof that you survived, that you saw the truth, that you walked away from control and into your own strength. You may notice, as the days pass without their grip on you, that the world begins to look different. Colors seem sharper. Silence feels softer. Even the weight of your own thoughts becomes easier to carry. It's not that everything is magically healed. You still have moments when the memories stab, when the echo of their voice lingers in your head, when doubt creeps in like a shadow. But the difference now is that you recognize it for what it is. Residue, not reality. Their control is no longer here. It lives only in the past. And in that recognition, you start to reclaim pieces of yourself you thought were gone forever. The laugh that once got caught in your throat begins to rise again, free and unashamed. The passions you silenced, your art, your friendships, your quiet joys, start to return. You remember the version of you who once existed before the storm, and even though that version is scarred now, they are also stronger, wiser, more radiant. That's the paradox of pain. It doesn't just wound, it transforms. Meanwhile, the narcissist feels this shift even if they're not near you. They sense, on some unspoken level, that their absence in your life is no longer a wound but a healing. That realization cuts them deeper than any words could. Because for someone who built their identity on being the center of your world, seeing you thrive without them is unbearable. They may try one last time to pull you back through charm, through rage, through desperation, but each attempt only confirms what you already know. Their power is gone. And here's something important to remember: losing their control over you doesn't mean they stop seeking control altogether. Often they'll move on quickly, latching onto someone new. At first, this may sting. You might see them flaunting a new relationship, presenting themselves as the perfect partner, showering someone else with the love they denied you, and it may feel like a knife twisting in your chest, as if you were never enough to inspire that version of them. But let me tell you this, what you're seeing is not transformation. It is repetition. The same script, the same cycle, just with a different actor cast in the role. What looks like change is only performance. And you, finally free, can see the pattern for what it island. In those moments, instead of spiraling into comparison, you can take a breath and remind yourself, I broke free. I saw the truth. I am no longer trapped in that cycle. And that realization that you are no longer someone's puppet, no longer defined by their approval or rejection, is the kind of freedom they will never taste. But freedom doesn't mean the scars disappear overnight. Healing after control takes time. You may find yourself questioning your instincts, second-guessing your worth, wondering if you'll ever love again without fear. These questions are natural. They're the echoes of a mind that was once conditioned to survive on someone else's terms. Be gentle with yourself here. Healing is not about rushing into the next version of you. It's about slowly, tenderly, remembering that your voice matters, your needs matter, your boundaries matter. And in the quiet moments, when doubt feels heavy, remind yourself of this simple truth. The fact that they lost control means you took it back. The fact that they raged means your silence was powerful. The fact that they tried sweetness means your distance shook them. The fact that they vanished means you became untouchable. Every sign of their panic was also a sign of your strength. So take another deep breath. Let it fill your chest. Let it soften your shoulders. You are here. You are whole, even with the cracks. You are proof that love does not need control, that healing is possible even after years of chaos. And if these words find you in the middle of your own storm, if you're still in that fragile place of choosing yourself, of walking away, of holding the line against their pull, know this: you are not alone. Thousands of others have walked this path, have felt the same ache, the same confusion, the same fragile hope, and many are still walking it now. Together, our voices weave a quiet kind of strength that no narcissist can silence. This is why I share this with you, not as a lecture, not as theory, but as a mirror. So you can see yourself clearly, maybe for the first time in a long time. There comes a day when you look back and realize the entire story has changed. Not because the past is erased, it will always be there, but because your role inside it is no longer the same. For so long, you were cast as the one who bends, the one who apologizes, the one who absorbs the storm. But now you are the one who walked away, the one who refused to be broken any longer, the one who turned the story upside down without shouting, without revenge, without destruction, simply by reclaiming yourself. It's strange how quietly it happens. The world doesn't clap for you when you set boundaries. There's no applause when you stop answering the midnight texts, when you walk out of a room instead of begging to be heard, when you block the number and delete the thread. There's no celebration when you cry on your bathroom floor, holding yourself together, whispering no more into the silence. But make no mistake, those moments are victories. They are milestones, and each one adds up to the greatest triumph: freedom. And here's the part the narcissist never understood. They thought control was power. They thought making you small made them strong. But real power is quiet. Real power is the courage to say, "I matter," when someone else insists you don't. Real power is not letting another human dictate the rhythm of your heart. Real power is choosing yourself, again and again, even when it feels like tearing yourself apart. That's the kind of strength they'll never taste. That's the kind of strength they'll never forgive you for finding. Because yes, when you reclaim yourself, you don't just end their control, you expose their emptiness. You show, without words, that their dominance was always fragile, always dependent on your willingness to believe the lies. And when you stop believing, when you stop playing your role in their theater, the whole illusion collapses. They are left with nothing but themselves. And for someone who cannot face their own emptiness, that is the most unbearable truth of all. You, on the other hand, step into a new kind of life, a slower, softer one at first. You notice the quiet rituals that were once impossible. Drinking your morning coffee without dread, answering your phone without panic, laughing without checking if someone else approves. These tiny moments become sacred. They are proof that control no longer owns you. Proof that healing is possible. Proof that you were never too weak. You were always too strong for the prison they tried to keep you in. And yes, there will be nights when loneliness bites, when the silence feels heavy, when you wonder if you'll ever love again without fear. These nights are part of healing too. Don't mistake them for failure. Don't mistake them for proof that you should have stayed. They are simply echoes, shadows left behind from a life you no longer live. With time, the echoes fade. With time, the silence becomes softer, safer, even beautiful. One day, you may meet someone new, and when you do, you'll notice how different it feels. Love without control is not fireworks and chaos. It is warmth. It is gentleness. It is freedom to be yourself without punishment. And you may weep, not because you're sad, but because you finally feel what you always deserved. But even if that day feels far away, even if you are still in the thick of rebuilding, remember this: you already did the hardest part. You saw the truth. You stepped out. You chose yourself. And no matter how much they raged, how much they begged, how much they twisted the story, they could not stop you. That is your power. That is your victory. So breathe with me now. Let the air fill the spaces where their voice once lived. Let it remind you of how far you've come. And know this: you are not defined by the pain they left behind. You are defined by the strength you found when they lost control. And now, as we reach the heart of it, let me speak directly to the part of you that still wonders. Was it really that bad? That voice lingers because control leaves residue. It makes you question your own memory, your own reality. It makes you wonder if you overreacted, if you should have tried harder, if maybe, just maybe, you were the problem. But here's the truth: no one could convince you of back then. If love costs you your peace, if love silences your voice, if love makes you beg for the bare minimum, it is not love. It is control dressed as devotion. You may still feel the urge to reach out sometimes, to check in, to see if they've changed, to see if their life without you looks brighter. That's natural. You spent so much time tied to their world that your heart still feels the pull. But when that urge rises, I want you to pause and ask yourself, what did I lose when I was with them? Did you lose your laughter, your self-respect, your ability to rest at night without fear? Because that is the cost. That is the price you paid. And no apology, no performance of change can undo the years you spent sacrificing yourself just to survive. This is where healing deepens, not in denying the past, but in telling the truth about it. When you stop sugarcoating what happened, when you stop excusing the pain, when you stop trying to hold on to the fragments of sweetness just to justify the years of suffering, healing happens in honesty. And honesty is what finally breaks the last ties of control. You see, narcissists don't just fear losing you, they fear losing the version of you that believed them, the version that explained away their cruelty, the version that bent over backward to earn scraps of affection. That version was their lifeline. But the moment you became honest with yourself, the moment you stopped confusing control for love, you became untouchable. And maybe this is the part that hurts the most. They will never truly see what they lost. They will never wake up one day, full of remorse, and recognize the depth of your love, the beauty of your loyalty, the gentleness of your spirit. Because seeing that truth would mean admitting their own emptiness, and they cannot face it. So instead, they rewrite, they blame, they move on to the next stage. But that, my friend, is not your burden anymore. Your burden now is lighter, though it may not feel that way every day. Your burden now is to heal, to rebuild, to nurture the parts of you they tried to erase. And yes, that healing is messy. Some days you'll feel unstoppable. Other days you'll collapse into tears. Both are sacred. Both are proof that you are alive, that you are moving, that you are no longer stuck in the prison of their control. And in this messy, beautiful healing, something unexpected blooms. You start to fall in love again, not with someone else, but with yourself, with the way your laughter sounds when it's genuine, with the way your body feels when it's not tense from walking on eggshells, with the way your dreams resurface, timid at first, then bold. You start to trust yourself again, and that trust is the foundation of everything that comes next. So here's what I want you to carry as you leave this story. The 7 painful signs that a narcissist lost control are not just signs of their panic, they are signs of your rebirth. Each one marked the moment you pulled a piece of yourself back from their grip. Each one proved that you were stronger than the story they tried to trap you in. And by the time the last sign came, the silence, the vanishing you were no longer theirs to control. You were free. Take a breath. Let that word settle in your chest. Free. Feel its weight. Feel its lightness. Feel the truth of it vibrating in your bones. You are free. And nothing, not their rage, not their sweetness, not their silence, can take that away. If this spoke to you, if it felt like I was sitting across from you, telling you the story of your own heart, then let this be your reminder. Healing is not a lonely road. There are countless souls just like you, breaking free, reclaiming themselves, learning how to breathe again. So stay with us. Subscribe if you haven't, not for me, but for yourself, for the nights you forget your strength, for the mornings you need a reminder that you are not alone. Share this if you know someone who needs it, because sometimes one story is enough to crack the walls of silence. And as you move forward, remember, you are not defined by what they did. You are defined by the fact that you rose when they tried to keep you small. You are defined by the courage it took to walk away. You are defined by the love you are finally giving back to yourself. Thank you for letting me walk this road with you. Until next time, keep breathing, keep healing, keep remembering who you are.